Hey Noah.
Hey, how you doing, Adi?
Wow, it's great to see you. It's been a while.
It's
I want to, first of all, I just want to apologize that for my voice. Very excited to catch up, but I apologize. It just lost it this morning. I got so excited I'm going to see you, and my voice went. So want to apologize.
I'm currently in Boston with COVID, so I'm quarantined in my tiny apartment here, but happy to,
Yeah,
and it's definitely been a while since we've spoken.
amazing. Well, first of all, I love you look great. Besides that, I love the flag in the background. Have you always had that since you moved into Boston?
Yeah, I actually got it in Israel on Yom Yerushalayim, and I brought it back with me to America. And when I moved to Boston after I graduated from Duke, it was the first thing I put up in my room.
Amazing. I can't wait to catch up with you a little bit, but just seeing you right now brings me back to remember when we had that amazing Jerusalem Shuk tour. We tasted all the foods, just eating everything. It was
That,
really, really, really fun. And that was
that
after the semester.
I think you and I did that twice actually.
That's true. It was so good the first time we needed to do it again.
So lot of good eating.
Yeah, and the other thing was I remember it was so nice when your parents came with your sister, came to my house for the Friday night meal. It was just I love always meeting the family, so it was so nice that you brought your family also then.
Yeah, it was a beautiful experience to have them not only see what my life looked like as a student, but also as a Thrive member, and for them to meet you was they always talk about you, and obviously sends their best regards to you and your family.
Amazing. Well, anyhow, we could catch up forever, and we need to catch up a little bit more. But I want to introduce you to everybody that doesn't know you. So tell me, Noah, like where did you study? Leaving aside study abroad for right now, where were you studying? What did you study, and what are you up to now?
Sure, yeah. So I graduated from Duke University down in Durham, North Carolina. I was initially recruited to be on their Division I swim team, with the intention of obviously focusing my time and energy on school. I was a top athlete in high school, and was fortunate enough to get recruited to Duke to swim on their team. And so while I was at Duke, I studied economics and also Judaic studies and Hebrew. And so yeah.
Cool. You gotta tell me. I remember when we met one of the first times when you came to Israel, and we were talking about being an athlete in Duke. Now you were an athlete at Duke at a good time. I remember you showed me that picture of you and your buddy Zion.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was fortunate enough to befriend a lot of the basketball players who are now common household names. So I'm currently living in Boston. Jason Tatum is also a very common name. He was a classmate of mine. So there were a lot of really cool perks of being a student athlete at Duke. And what was actually amazing, and one of my I would say first introduction to Israel and Judaism was while I was a freshman on the Duke swim team. I was invited to be on the Team USA for the Maccabiah, for the Maccabea Games. It was the 2017 Maccabea Games, and I obviously accepted. And that summer in 2017 was my first time in Israel. I was there for a month, um, participating in the Maccabea Games and competing for Team USA. We traveled around the entire country. It was really my first time experiencing the country and the culture, which obviously kind of materialized into my study abroad, which we can speak about later. But yeah, swimming opened a lot of doors for me, and presented with a lot of really incredible opportunities.
Cool. Wow. Amazing. Now, for those of us that aren't as intensive athletes as yourself, Now, what was your schedule like when you were in Duke, just in terms of the commitment of being a swimmer and an athlete? Just love to understand that.
Yeah, so swimming at any Division I program, or being an athlete at any Division I program, comes with a lot of sacrifice and a lot of time management. Swimming specifically for me was around 20 plus hours a week. So like, you can consider it a part-time job, but, even more so, it was, early morning swim practices. I was waking up at 4:30 in the morning every morning. 2.5 hour practices in the morning, 2.5 hour practices in the afternoon. So just about 5 hours of swimming every day throughout the week. And then also balancing that with a full, academic course load. So it definitely required a lot of time management and discipline and staying focused. That was the reason why I went to Duke. And, it was absolutely an incredible experience to not only go through that on my own, but to have an incredible support system with me in my teammates and all of the resources that Duke had to offer me.
Cool. Okay, let's fast forward a little bit also right now. So where you studied economics, and now what are you up to? You said you're living in Boston. What are you do? What are you doing?
Yeah, so I graduated from Duke in 2020. Like I said, unfortunately, it was the COVID spring. So I unfortunately lost my spring semester, but was lucky enough to line up a job in investment banking. Um, and ironically, it happened to be in the biotechnology industry. So as COVID was hitting, and everyone was, wondering, are there vaccines coming out or therapeutics for, this strange new disease? I actually happened to start at a time where a lot of my work happened to focus around, developing or helping companies develop vaccines and therapeutics to treat COVID. So since since the summer of 2020, I've been working as a biotech investment banker, and have been working on some really, really cool, technologies in the space, and have really been heads down for the most part. I started during kind of peak quarantine in the States, and Boston was especially locked down. So I have really just been kind of putting my head down and learning as much as I can, and working hard.
Cool. Very nice. Well, I remember when you were here, and I know in Thrive we hooked you up with one of our buddies to have a really good internship with the VC. Do you think that helped give you an understanding a little bit more, maybe get you into the field?
No,
Remember
absolutely.
Alex?
Our good friend, our Thrive's good friend, Alex Oppenheimer,
That's
was
right.
was nice enough to take me under his wing and have me, I would say, go and work with him throughout the summer of 2019, which put me in a really good position to recruit into a top level banking job in Boston. And I obviously spoke a lot about my time in Israel and my experience working with the Israeli startups and the venture capitalists and investors and the entire business world in Israel. And that was obviously an amazing experience, and wouldn't have happened if I wasn't part of the Thrive community.
There we go. I have to throw out one other thing. Thanks to our relationship, Noah, also you hooked up my cousin with a job by your place. So no, everything goes around that comes around. So my cousin says he's very happy, loves working with you. So
On a
thanks for that.
business call with Isaac, and we do good work together.
Okay, gotta give him a hug for me. So
I absolutely will.
okay, cool. So let's go back now to study abroad for a second. So being a Division I athlete and a swimmer, um, you really had to make a sacrifice in order to study abroad in Israel. How did you go about making that decision, and why was it important for you?
Yeah, well, maybe just to set the frameworks, which is that I couldn't go abroad had I stayed a Division I swimmer at Duke. It was one or the other, and I had previously expressed my interest in going abroad to Israel, and this was definitely something I wanted to do. I always had it in the back of my mind. I wanted to get this experience in Israel, and so I made a life-changing decision after my sophomore year, which was to retire from the college world of swimming and to take a leap of faith and go abroad to Israel, knowing that I couldn't rejoin the swim team after my abroad experience. Right, so it was a active decision to quit swimming, and at that time I had thought it was really my last time swimming competitively ever, and so maybe we could talk a little bit about what happened.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that soon. But it is fascinating and important. I talk to students when I go recruiting at all the colleges a lot of times, and I say that making a decision to study abroad and where you decide, there is always potentially a sacrifice. And, the sacrifice, whether I want to stay on campus, especially like right now with COVID, I missed X amount of semesters, so I want to stay here, or maybe I want to study abroad somewhere else. But like every decision does have like amazing pros, but it also has sacrifices. And I know your experience really shows that more than ever. Like you had to make a major sacrifice in where you started college and then you pivoted. So why did you think Israel was that important to come to?
Yeah, maybe just quickly building off of that. I mean, when making a decision like that, it's much more clear. It's clearer to see all the reasons why not. Right? I have friends in college. I'm missing Duke basketball. There are so many reasons to stay, and there are a lot of unknowns, or the reasons why. And so, in my mind, it was something that, again, I had been in Israel before through the Maccabea Games. It was it was an experience that was very it was very interesting, that to me, I would say, because I didn't know what would come about. I didn't know about Thrive. I didn't know what I would be getting into, with the startup world. And so I took a leap of faith, and there were a lot of reasons to stay back home. But eventually, I made a decision that, this could be one of the best decisions of my life. And today I look back at it, and it absolutely was.
Amazing. So let's jump forward a little bit. I want to first before we hear a little bit more of your swim story, I would love to hear like just thinking about what was your favorite memory of being in Israel, especially specifically with Thrive.
Yeah.
What sticks out?
I think what sticks out the most was, it probably was our first trip away, which was the Gadna, the military, the Israeli army boot camp, which was, I believe it was just over 24 hours, and it was really our first time coming together as a group, but it was a full military experience where there was this mefaked, this commander that was just kicking our butts the entire time, making us, you running and doing a lot of, I mean, just so many ridiculous things. But it really brought us all together, and
I remember you and Matt carrying that water jug for hours.
absolutely, I was assigned the water boy, where I was responsible for holding the jug of water with one of our Thrive members. And yeah, I think that was the first experience, or probably the most significant experience, that really stood out to me.
Cool. That was good times. I remember that.
I know I
You know,
have
you know,
a lot of footage of that. If you recall, I was the videographer that semester. So
there you go. So
we'll have.
our group that just arrived right now, they're going there next week. So we don't have to give away too much away from it right now. So anyhow, okay, great. So ultimately you came here, you sacrificed a lot from leaving the Duke swimming team. Um, Tell us what happened here, because it's a pretty wild story.
Yeah, so it was wild. Again, I had in my mind, I had thought I was completely done swimming competitively. And specifically, I made a commitment to never swim in an indoor pool again. I had some, PTSD from all of the hours, swimming indoors. And fortunately, there was a beautiful outdoor pool at the Tel Aviv University campus, a beautiful Olympic-sized pool. And I was still staying active, and I obviously loved the act of swimming. And on these beautiful days, I would go outside and swim in the outdoor pool. And it just so happened one of the, very, very early on, one day I was swimming, and the Tel Aviv University swim coach actually, he came up to me. He saw me swimming, and he said, this doesn't look normal. Um, now, are you a student here? Would you like to join our team? And I said, no, no, I'm done swimming. I'm retired. I just do this, recreationally. And he kept pushing me. He said, no, no, trust me, it would be an amazing experience. And I was telling him I'm here for a semester. I was giving him reasons why I couldn't join their swim team. And finally, he convinced me to join. He said it's going to be an absolute amazing experience. It'll give you an opportunity to meet more, Israeli students in the program. You'll learn Hebrew. You'll get to do all these, you'll practice, you'll train, whatever. And I said, all right, fine. And then what he said was, all right, there's one caveat though. You you need to compete for Tel Aviv University. You need to compete for us at the Israeli collegiate national championships, which included schools from Europe as well. And it was down in Eilat. And I said, all right, I'll swim for you guys. And sure enough, a few months later, I was competing for Tel Aviv University. Did very well for myself in the swim team. And I just realized, while I had thought that I was sacrificing really a large part of my life in swimming and being a Duke swimmer, and that was really what defined me. While I thought I was sacrificing that, I realized that, you know, I would say when you fully commit to, if you sacrifice something and you fully commit to the thing that you're sacrificing against, you will be rewarded. And I found out that, it completely came full circle, that I was able to compete again and be in Israel, and I didn't have to sacrifice my swimming, but rather, have that supplement a part of my Israel experience. So it was a really wild experience, and I just had such an amazing time doing it.
Amazing. You didn't just not sacrifice. You like became a Tel Aviv University legend and hero.
I
How about
happened to win the Israeli national championship, which was amazing. I got a scholarship in shekels based on that performance, and was able to use those proceeds to enjoy the rest of my time in Israel.
I remember you coming back with those medals and like you were like, living it up,
It
all the
was
friends.
wasn't just swimming. I mean, it was called the Asa Games. It's in they do all sports, so it was kind of like an Olympics for Israeli collegiate athletes.
So cool. And it's a great lesson, what you were saying before about just when you believe in something, it doesn't become a sacrifice, it enhances it. And I know here were you, full circle, swimming
Yeah,
in Israel and becoming an Israeli legend.
yeah. I thought I had put swimming behind me, and the next thing I know, I'm not only in Israel where I wanted to be, but I was also swimming you know I was swimming for an amazing team, and got to go down to a lot and compete for an entire week, and just have an amazing time and meet new people along the way. So it was it was an absolute surreal experience for me.
Amazing, amazing. And everybody, whenever people come back from study abroad, there's the classic statement like abroad changed me. And we joke around about that. We've spoken about that before. But you definitely have told me a number of times that abroad changed you, and specifically coming to Israel. How would you explain that to people?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a few things that I would say. For one, and especially as an American Jew, that there's obviously a culture around Judaism in America, but um, to see Judaism in Israel and to just be part of that culture for a sustained period of time. Some people visit Israel for a few weeks, maybe even a few days with their family, or they do Birthright. I actually had done Birthright prior to being in Israel for the semester abroad, but I actually realized that living in a different country and living in Israel for 6+ months really gave me an incredible understanding of not just Judaism, but the culture that Israel has created since its inception. And I always kind of carry those the values that I learned from being there, the understanding of Israel's history, and my personal experience, not only in Thrive, but I stayed in Israel for the summer, working in Tel Aviv, being on the ground and part of the startup community. And I developed relationships that I, continue through today.
Amazing, amazing. So any well, just final words from you. I'd love to hear. Anybody that's debating about should I study abroad, should I not study abroad, should I go to Prague, Budapest, Barcelona, or Israel? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, I would tell them if they're Jewish, I would say there's no question to be in Israel. Again, like I said,
Why?
there's a lot of value in not just visiting Israel, but to actually live here, and to be part of the culture and to experience, as an example, to experience what Shabbat is like in Israel, where the entire country shuts down, and you really get a sense of, again, as an American Jew, you think the the Shabbos or Shabbat, and I'm just taking a day to relax or go to services, but to be in Israel and to see an entire country shut down, and to be with friends and family and to celebrate what it actually means. In Thrive, we do a lot of Shabbatons where we travel around the country, and we learn the values of Shabbat and the importance of togetherness and unity, and taking a break from all of the craziness that goes on in our lives, and to really reset and appreciate the week before, and to set goals for the week after. As an example, these are values that you can only get by living in Israel. And I think when students are making decisions on where they should go abroad, if you're a Jewish student in America, I think it's a no-brainer.
Amazing. No, it sounds like you had a great time and a really good Jewish experience. Did you also have fun?
I had an amazing time. Yeah. So I was part of the Tel Aviv University program, and Tel Aviv is very lively. It's right on the beach. There's a lot of nightlife and activities to do during the day, and I was there during the spring of 2019, which was fortunately a very peaceful time in Israel. And all of the students, we would go to the beach together and go to all these events together. So it was a fantastic time, and again, was very happy with the decision to go abroad to Tel Aviv University.
Amazing. No, listen, it was really great to first of all have you in Israel with us for this semester. That was the most important. It's also really nice to catch up a little bit and share a little bit about your experience with other people. And I look forward to hopefully seeing you very soon in person.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adi. I really appreciate you taking the time, especially what time is it there? Almost 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it's getting there.
Well, thank you so much, Adi. I really appreciate it.
Take care, Noah. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.